What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and show you what a Wyckoff accumulation schematic may be suggesting for Tesla and how Tesla may be moving for the future based off what on earth the price action is showing us from the theory of Wyckoff. Now, before I break anything down about Wyckoff and what Tesla may be doing for the future, I do have to mention a couple of things real quick. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner, so don't take any of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed 6 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And you can always sell these 6 free stocks for cash and use that cash to buy some Tesla shares for free in this limited time offer that ends in just 2 weeks. So please check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at Tesla, one of the things I often like to talk about is how Wyckoff may be playing a big role in the price action of Tesla over a long period of time. Now, I can't promise that this is 100% true like right now, but so far it's kind of looking like that may be the case. Now, with that said, I want to talk about, or at least show you the past, right? If we time travel back to 2021, you could see how on earth Wyckoff kind of encompassed the price action of Tesla. Now, this is a theory, this whole Wyckoff chart, this schematic, this is a theory that came out like a century ago or a very, very long time ago. And what this encompasses is how institutions dictate the price action of many of these big companies, or essentially any stock out there, in this pattern. And there are different versions of this pattern, but I think accumulation schematic number one tends to be common for Tesla. So what I'm trying to say is the institutions, what they do is they short companies really hard. They bring them down right here. We get a nice bounce. They push it up. And they're the ones that kind of dictate the price action. And it's how on earth we see this pattern kind of repeating itself over and over again in the markets. So let me show you an example of it. And this is, this may blow you away if you actually see this for the first time. Check this out from 2021. Okay. At one point, what happened was Tesla was at its all-time high in January 2021. That was its all-time high at the time. We get this bounce right here. This was our preliminary support at that 784 range, and we actually dropped on low volume. Very, very interesting, and that confirms the preliminary support. Nice bounce off that. We drop all the way down to our sell climax, and I do theorize that the sell climax was actually at a different spot. It wasn't necessarily right here based off the price action we saw, right? So we have the selling climax, a big bounce giving us the automatic reaction on increased volume. Then we drop on high volume, giving us that like sell test. It's a very, like, how should I say, different version of the sell test. This would actually be the sell test in phase B. It kind of just skipped out on the other phases, which goes to show sometimes some parts of this could kind of get skipped out. Sometimes some phases are like really fast and other phases are very slow. And what happened was we got this nice bounce in phase B, and we saw our spring right over here in May. So you could see what happened was we spent 4 months going through phases A and B, and we spent like 6 or 7 months going through phases C and D, which goes to show that these charts could be extended, stretched out, or other things like that. So you'll notice that the recovery phase was very long compared to this drop phase. It happened very fast during the whole global chip shortage. So what happened was we got the spring, a nice bounce, we got the test, a nice bounce again. We kind of got rejected off this kind of like resistance zone around that 700 range. So that came to our last point of support where we pushed up to the sign of strength. The sign of strength showed increasing volume. And look at what happens after the sign of strength, okay? After the SOS, right here on this accumulation schematic, SOS, we get sideways price action and a bam, a massive push into phase E. What happened to Tesla? Institutions were kind of trading this thing sideways, slowly pushing it up. And then phase E comes. Phase E means we push up like crazy. We went parabolic. Tesla went from the 700s in October all the way up in November to 1200. 1200 in just about a month. So it just shows how explosive this thing can be and whether or not institutions will let this thing run and to what degree they short, when they short, when we see explosive price action and things like that. So what would this chart be suggesting for right now? That's the question on everyone's minds. What's the forecast for 2022? And for me personally, I can't predict the exact time zones considering the fact that some of these phases could be stretched out or kind of shortened. But there is one thing I can do is and maybe give you an idea of where we are right now. Now, it's very hard to tell exactly where we are when looking at this in real time, but you could at least theorize and kind of deduce where we may be. So, what I want to talk about is this right here, okay? What I theorize, and I'm making this theory based off another theory known as Wyckoff, which is pretty funny. Tesla dropped right here, and we got a tiny bounce. This might have been our preliminary support from the very, very beginning. This drop right here was actually the selling climax at one point back in November 2021, and we got this automatic reaction. We got this push up to that $11.90 level. Then we pushed down to the first sell test in phase A. This all happened near the end of 2021. Then we got this nice push into phase B. What are you going to notice on the chart? Okay, look how crazy this is. Notice how this right here, this push up we got in the very beginning of January, is a little bit higher than this push up right here. Similar to like right here on the chart. Let me make this bigger. See how this push up right here is a little bit higher than this one right here? What a strange coincidence that is, right? It just shows how insane this theory really is. So then what happened was push up to that high level. We drop hard to the sell test in phase B, which is like right here. Then we get a bounce and we push up to a lower level. It still is like we pushed up, but we just weren't as high as before. Very similar to this. So it's making me think that, and what my theory is that we're entering the spring phase. When people were talking about how, oh, CPI was really bad, yeah, I understand that. I understand CPI sucked. But the thing about CPI is a lot of the rate hikes were priced in unless the Fed becomes even more hawkish and causes the market to drop even more. So I'm thinking that we're in that phase right now where the market is essentially crashing in a way. And I know people don't like to hear that word. I understand, but it's the uncomfortable truth. We've been getting hammered, okay? But this is the phase we're in where we're going to possibly keep respecting a bit of a downward trend. And eventually, I don't know when the month is going to be. I don't know the exact date. I don't know if it already came. Tesla's going to find its bottom. We're going to find the spring. We're going to get a bounce and we're going to get a nice recovery. The recovery may not be super fast. It may take some time, just like how this one right here on this side, 2021, it took about 7 months, maybe less than 7 months since we broke all-time highs. But I do believe that is what the stock market is essentially aimed to do. This is what institutions may be thinking. So I told you in previous videos that I theorize that there is going to be more downside for Tesla, and Tesla it hasn't found its bottom yet. That's how I want to word it. So from what I'm seeing is there is the news about the stock split, right? It's not necessarily confirmed or like completed just yet. Tesla is just filing the papers, they're working on it, and they have to vote for it in their annual shareholder meeting. So what I would anticipate is what's possible is we could have a little bit more relief. We might push up a little bit more. And depending on the FOMC meeting, if the Fed ends up, I don't know, causing the market to push up, which I think is less likely, it's possible. Just hear me out when I say this. People are talking about how Tesla has this inverse head and shoulders. We're going to start pushing up like this. I'm not promising this, but this is just a possibility. The question would be, is Wyckoff kind of like confirming this? A move like this after LPS, followed by the big pushes to the upside, for instance, right? Does Wyckoff support this? The answer is the spring would have to be that low level we hit at 620 in order for this theory to be true. And that's a possibility. But considering that I told you guys that I believe that there's still more downside because the Fed is probably going to become more hawkish. And I think they will have to become more hawkish because inflation is still high, right? I don't truly know what's going to happen, but I would theorize that downside is actually more probable than this one right here. I'm going to change the colors of the lines just to show you. So what could happen is we get a nice bounce thanks to the stock split news that came out, right? The fact that they're filing papers for it. They're working on a 3-for-1 split. And I will go into more details about it tomorrow, but we could see a slight push up. I'm not sure how high. Perhaps we fill that gap up there. But what could end up happening is the Fed might actually have to start raising rates higher. The market may start to slow down. The bulls may gain more and more control. And I think the market's going to continue to see some downside. Now, is Tesla at the bottom? Nobody knows exactly where the bottom is. Nobody knows when the bounce will come. But perhaps once the whole stock split comes, right? That could be the catalyst that starts to cause Tesla to start pushing up slowly. And then we may already have seen the spring at a different phase, and we may see a slow recovery after that with some sideways action. So perhaps a long LPS phase, followed by more upside as we enter the end of the year going into next year. So let me see if I could kind of zoom out of this. Give me 1 second. And then we'd kind of, continue to see upside into the sign of strength, followed by more and more and more bullish price action going into the end of the year by next year, in my opinion, kind of like this. I do believe Tesla's going to break all-time highs thanks to the Cybertruck, thanks to the Roadster. But my interpretation is this is more probable. The yellow line I drew out like this, I find this more probable, and I do think that the spring might actually be right here. Isn't going to be in August? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be extended for until like November or if it's going to be extended up until July. I don't know the exact date Tesla's going to find its bottom, but I do believe we might follow a trend like this. Now, people are talking about that inverse head and shoulders that's forming on Tesla. Tesla's going to push up. If that's the case, we would have already seen the spring. Okay, this would have to be the spring. And right here, I just don't think that that's very likely considering the market conditions, but it's a possibility, right? So my end thesis is this. I believe this is possible. It's just less likely. In fact, I don't think it's extremely likely at all. I think it's quite unlikely that we see the white line play out. Wyckoff would tell us that we're more likely to see this yellow line if the spring hasn't come already. And what I'm essentially drawing out is some upside thanks to the stock split news, other things like that, followed by more downside to kind of continue for the next couple of months before we find our bottom, kind of push up, and then bulls are slowly going to gain control and then push Tesla up to its all-time highs again by next year, in my opinion, as the Cybertruck comes out and other things like that. So what could be the turning point? Maybe when the stock split is complete, that's going to be the catalyst that causes Tesla to switch from being really bearish up until this very bullish phase. Now, this is mainly just speculation based off Wyckoff, right? Correlation does not mean causation, so I'm not promising that this is going to play out. I'm just saying it's very likely based off previous trends, based off the fact that Tesla followed Wyckoff in the past, and that's essentially what I have for this video. So I hope I provided some value for you when actually presenting this. I'm still very bullish for the long-term future of Tesla, and I do believe Wyckoff is a good instrument that can help us understand what institutions are thinking and what may end up playing out. The next few weeks are going to tell us what's going to happen, what the Fed does, if Tesla continues to push up or if Tesla starts to drop. Time will tell. We're going to see. With that said, thank you. Have a great weekend, and I will see you guys in the next one. Tesla to the moon, and peace out.